A group of friends decided to spend the weekend in the mountains, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. They rented a secluded house surrounded by a forest. Everything seemed perfect, a great place to relax and enjoy nature. But as night approached, something strange began to happen. They heard mysterious noises in the darkness of the forest around. Their nerves became tense, but they decided that it was just forest sounds and nothing dangerous. However, they soon discovered that the doors and windows of the house began to open and close by themselves. Despite their fears, they tried to explain it by an accidental draft or a malfunction of the locks. As the night progressed, they heard the eerie sounds of knocking and shuffling footsteps on the roof. More and more friends started to panic. They decided to check what was happening on the roof and went to the second floor. Once on the top floor, they saw a shadow gliding across the window. They realized that they were not alone in this house. Fear gripped them completely, and they decided to call the police. But to their horror, they discovered that the mobile phone signal was completely gone. They were cut off from the outside world, and all they could do was sit in the dark and listen to the approaching footsteps and rustles. Finally, there was a loud explosion inside the house and the lights went out. The friends were left in complete darkness, unable to see what was happening around them. Their hearts beat in unison, and fear gripped their souls. One and the teams were taken away shouting, "Don't save him, he's already dead." They looked at each other with horror on their faces. Someone was their ghost, or maybe something even more sinister was hiding in the dark. They realized that now they need to do something to survive. Friends started running around the house, looking for any opportunity to defend themselves. They found knives and other sharp objects to somehow resist. But in their hearts there was a mysterious certainty that something invisible was watching them, that they could not hide from their invisible pursuer. Suspecting that one of their friends might be a traitor, they moved cautiously in the dark, each step filled with fear and suspicion. They heard voices, whispers and strange noises that accompanied them in every room. Screams and screams came from the garage. Emily was scared for her boyfriend Michael and went after him, not thinking about the consequences. Every premonition of misfortune swirled in her head, but she could not remain passive when her loved ones were in danger. When she entered the garage, she was surrounded by darkness and complete darkness. She moved cautiously forward, feeling her way with her hands. Her heart was beating so hard in her chest that she almost lost her breath. And then she heard a distorted voice that did not resemble her boyfriend Michael in any way. "Emily, have you come to save him? Oh, what generosity. But you're wrong. He's already dead. And you'll be next." A wave of terror shot through her body. She tried to run out of the garage, but the door slammed in front of her. She was trapped with an invisible killer. Rustling and hoarse footsteps sounded around her, and the atmosphere became even more eerie. She felt the touch of cold hands touching her face and neck. A nasty laugh rang in her ears, sounding as if the creature in front of her was enjoying her fear. Emily closed her eyes, but the deathly cold breath continued to press on her. In a final act of desperation, she grabbed a knife that she managed to grab in the garage and began to fight in all directions. Her hands were covered in blood, but she didn't know if she had hit her invisible pursuer. Wounded and exhausted, Emily realized that the knife she used belonged to Michael. Horrified, she realized that she had committed an irreversible act in error. Tears gushed from her eyes, and cries of despair broke the silence of the garage. Michael's fate was sad and final. Emily couldn't understand how this could happen, how she could cause such pain to her beloved. Guilty and suffering an unbearable loss, she knelt down next to Michael's body and plunged into a sea of remorse and despair. But then she heard footsteps approaching the garage. She roused herself and raised her head, and terror filled her heart. The invisible killer was still there, and his presence became even more palpable. Emily was trapped with her murdered boyfriend, the entity that haunted them all. She shuddered when she heard a distorted voice whispering in her ear, "Did you think you could run away from me? Did you think you could destroy me? But you were wrong, Emily. I will haunt you for the rest of your days." The terror intensified with every passing moment, enveloping Emily in its coldness and madness. She realized that she would not be able to escape from her sins, from this sinister shadow, which has now become part of her destiny. She had to live with this nightmare every second of her life. Emily, with Michael's body in her arms, ran out of the garage, opening the door and showing her friends that she had unintentionally caused his death. Her face was distorted with grief and horror, and her eyes expressed complete despair. Friends were stunned by what they saw. They couldn't believe that Emily had accidentally harmed her boyfriend. They all stood speechless, looking at Michael's dead body and experiencing a mixture of feelings, from shock and grief to anger and fear. No one knew how to handle this terrible situation. Their mountain hike, which was supposed to be a joyous adventure, turned into a nightmare. They could feel the madness and darkness engulfing them, and the invisible killer was still hunting them. Tears flowed from Emily's eyes, and she sank to the ground, feeling that she could not cope with what had happened. Friends gathered around her, trying to support and calm her down, but they all felt that death and danger were constantly lurking for them. Now they faced a difficult choice. They had to decide what to do with Michael's body, how to find a way to stop the invisible killer, and how to deal with the deep emotional wounds that this terrible event inflicted on them. They understood that time was working against them, and they needed to act quickly. Their friendship and will to survive were put to a serious test, but they decided to cope with this nightmare together, even if it meant coming face to face with what they could not see, but felt in every dark shadow. So began their struggle for survival, with the curse that now lay on Emily and their entire group. They vowed not to stop until they found a way to help Michael. When Michael woke up, his memory was hazy and he could not remember his connection with Emily. He looked at his friends with amazement and confusion in his eyes, not understanding what had happened. Friends were stunned and overwhelmed with mixed emotions. On the one hand, they were relieved that Michael had been healed and returned to life. On the other hand, they felt bitterness and sadness when they saw that Michael had lost the memory of his relationship with Emily. They understood that this result was part of the ritual of healing and overcoming the curse. Perhaps it was the price that had to be paid for Michael to come back to life and get rid of danger. The friends decided not to tell Michael about his past relationship with Emily. Instead, they decided to start from scratch and build a new relationship based on support, friendship and mutual respect. Emily, with bitterness in her heart, decided to keep her feelings to herself and not return to the past, which Michael no longer remembered. She was ready to make a sacrifice so that he could live without the shadow of the past and find happiness again. So a new stage for friends began. They continued to explore the secrets of the mountain region in order to break the curse completely. Together they overcame obstacles and supported each other, knowing that the strength of their friendship could overcome any challenges. Although the memories of the past were lost, the story of Michael, Emily and their friends continued. They created new memories, laughed, helped each other and built a bright future, despite the dark shadows that once consumed them. Subscribe to our channel to get more fascinating stories. Be aware of new adventures, emotions and unexpected twists. Our channel offers a variety of stories, from fiction and mysticism to adventure and romance. Join our community and immerse yourself in the world of incredible and exciting stories.